This is episode 241 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Will. Would you bump me? I'd bump me. Hakewood.
It puts the focus in the basket.
Ryan. Nobody spoils Spider-Man for me. Staniszewski.
Correct. I have a baby. I don't have all the time in the world anymore to see any movie I want exactly on the night it comes out. Just hold off a little while longer. Apparently, my parents might be nice enough to let my wife and I have a date night. Go see it this week or next week. Just hold out till after the end of the year.
By Marcel, if he's gonna be late, we all know because he'll randomly say words that nobody else hears. Manzano.
Hey, yo. Hey, who's that guy?
And Filippo, the Italian stallion Bossi.
Ooh, you're actually the first person that dubs me that, even if I'm in the comfort of my Beskar pajamas.
Listen, I have a story about somebody in a Boba Fett hoodie. We'll talk about it offline. Can't talk about it here, but it's a great story. All right. So today, folks, like you said, we have a guest, and we're going to be talking about something called the Chain Code Project, SWChain Code. You know, I would say, like, I'm not going to, like, claim it, like it was my idea, but I would say that I had, like, the seed. Like, I planted the seed, and a cool tree is going to come out of it, hopefully. And I'm super excited about that. Also, of course, we're going to get some lists of the week. If you have your questions, make sure to post them on our Discord. If you're not a part of that community, make sure you do so. And, of course, becoming a patron is the way to become one of our largest group of supporters. We have Pursuit Squadron shipping here in the new year. So if you want to get your hands on that, head to patreon.com/gold Squadron. All right, Filippo, who are you? Let's start there. Like, what is your involvement in X-Wing? You've done more things than just this thing that we're doing, so I figure we should start there.
So, who am I? Well, let's say that I've been playing X-Wing since it has been on the market, because incidentally at that time I was in the US, so some fella in San Diego actually showed me the game, and then from that it was just, a river, like, actually ran me over, and I kept playing and playing and playing, and then I switched to organizing some events here and there, advocating the game at my local game stores, and from that I ended up coordinating the organized play network in Italy, and from that, thanks to, people wanting to have me on board, I've ended up judging at some quite big events all over Europe. You might recognize me from the dancing dude from Euros 2019.
Very nice, very nice. The dancing dude.
Yeah, you have to entertain players in a line waiting for the prizes. So
Of course. I get it. All right, man. Well, we're just gonna we're just diving face first into this. Let me go ahead and pull up that super sweet image that we had. But SWChain Code, this is something that you whispered in my ear this idea, and I was just like, oh, that's interesting. I like that. So let's go ahead and talk about it just a little bit. Give us the synopsis. Now, I will tell you that I didn't share the information with Ryan, Will, or Marcel because I thought it would be really cool for them to kind of have really some organic questions because they don't know what's going on. So go ahead, give us a synopsis here real quick.
Okay, so elevator pitch would be saying that the SWChain Code initiative is a multifaceted venture that aims to fully support the Star Wars tabletop games community. The last 2 years, I would say they have been pretty challenging to try and get a game at an actual table anywhere kind of on this planet.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Reasons we all know. I mean, there has been a fair share of face-to-face events, but it has been extremely challenging for, I would say, like tournament organizers like us to actually run a tournament.
Oh,
we
yeah.
did, not easy. But it was not easy either for players to actually venture out of their houses and play. You know, restrictions, distancing, all this stuff. What we have witnessed, while maybe other games kind of lost their drive and the communities maybe got a little bit more sparse, is that a word? Yes.
Yeah.
The Star Wars tabletop community, X-Wing specifically, literally rallied up altogether and I think thrived beyond any expectations. Because if originally we would used to have like a plethora of small events here and there, during the past 2 years we've had massive online events every other weekend. I don't know how many 100 and more players tournaments you could count in a year, but in the last 2 years, the whole player base has showed so much dedication for these games. At this point, time of recording this video is December 2021. We are steadily and progressively going back to the tables. End of last summer, there have been some events like the Lone Star Open. We had the Europa Cup in Italy. There's soon going to be the LVO, early January, right? In Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many people that event is going to count, but I think it goes in the few hundreds of people ballpark, right?
Yeah.
Last weekend, there were at least 5 to 6 store championships in the UK, backtracking from the ones we missed in 2020.
Yeah. We actually just had one locally. It was like 2 weeks ago, Marcel? Something like that?
A local tournament, you mean?
Yeah, local store championship where the 2019 one, we like replayed it or played it the first time.
That was like a month ago.
Yeah, we still have a hit. We might run another one. So, I mean, we are going back to the tables. And let's say that I found a bunch of like-minded individuals, and I think you lot can put yourself in that basket. We got some discussion going, and we thought that building on all the efforts that content creators that have been great advocates for the game these past 2 years, on the efforts of the shop owners, the tournament organizers, all the local and at-large community leaders, we started exploring what the next steps could be. It was instrumental for this discussion, a pitch that a close friend of mine, Tommaso Landini, you might have seen him at the XTC. He has played in a few teams. He is, I would say, easily one of the best players in Italy. Long ago, and I am extremely ashamed of this, because to actually get this going, it took a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he pitched me an idea that was born and raised from his adjacent experiences in wargaming. He saw a gap in the state of X-Wing at large, and he pitched me an idea, and I told him, no worries, Tommaso, by the end of the month, I'll get back to you. 3 years have passed.
Life gets busy, right?
Life is busy. Like, this conversation happened in, I think, June 2018, something like that. Anyways, jump to 2021. As I was saying, building on all the efforts, we said we can give back to the community, especially to the playing community and to the content creator community, and somehow try to support them all. We started studying like the gaps in the X-Wing Legion Armada offering. What we realized is that even if these games, speaking more specifically about X-Wing, because it's the system that I'm more confident with.
Of course.
It's been out on the market for what's now? Almost 10 years now. Because it was launched in October 2012, if I remember correctly.
Sounds close.
There's no centralized hub that shows collated resources, content feeds. There's not a organic, global, shared and coordinated calendar that everybody can refer to. So these might seem like little things. We are all aware that there's been like similar experiences all over the world. Like I've been running a small website in Italy with a coordinated calendar and a player map and a local mentor map to help players get in touch with each other and find their X-Wing mentor. You lot have been organizing parallel organized play circuits. That's how I would dub them, with a set in stone calendar since the start of the year. Hey, it's January. This year we're going to play these days up to the final. In England, they used something called the 186 tournament tracker, where people can report their future events and they get punched in on a website for public reading. In Germany, they use a dedicated platform to keep track of the tournaments, how the players place, how do they perform here and there. We had, in the X-Wing history, many content aggregators, because all the content gets reported on maybe Reddit, Facebook groups. Every website and their grandma has a useful link sections.
Right.
Currently, every player, every club, every page, every website has a Discord server. So we try to put ourselves in the shoes of somebody discovering these games in 2021 and maybe feeling a little bit lost. I find peculiar that almost 10 years after X-Wing is on the market, every day there's somebody on Facebook, Reddit, Discord, pick your social media, asking, hey, I am from City. I would like to play game. Where do I go? So taking all these elements into account, that's how the Chain initiative was born. As said, it's multifaceted. We would like to offer a centralized hub that supports both new players and veteran players to find and use all the X-Wing tools that we already have available, such as squad builders, meta-analysis tools, list archiving website, and put them all in a consistent and collated place. We would like to offer a global shared calendar sided by a visual map to find not only the closest game club if you're a new player, but also to find a mentor that can guide you in your X-Wing journey, in your Legion journey, in your Mother journey, because we are very open to, branching out into the other games that need some love and support.
For sure.
If you are either a new or old player and you want to find all the supporting materials for your game, that's where you're going to find them. This not to say that, honestly, we are trying to appropriate of content made by other people, but it's another showcase, a centralized showcase. Because you might all agree that there's different levels of engagement from people to the internet. Everybody has their social media of choice. There's people who loves Discord, people who loves Facebook, people who loves Twitter. Some other people loves Reddit. Some others don't love any of those. So trying to build a portal and a hub that's kind of not necessarily related to social media, but still allows you to some degree of interaction. To close my extremely long elevator pitch, because this riding elevator is extremely long, and I know Marcel does not approve of this.
We're on like the 95th floor. The Sears Tower, has 110. So you've got 15 floors to close it in.
Close the deal. Close the deal.
Close it, yeah.
So all of this is sided by some aspects that cater also to the more competitive crowd of the X-Wing player base, such as what we like to call a performance tracking tool optional, obviously, that you can decide to opt in, opt out to record your performance all across the season. So people, again, like Marcel, can say, oh yeah, I've totally placed in 6 top cuts this year over the 21 events I played. I remember that post, Marcel. I remember. Stop shaming me because I don't get enough fly time. And obviously what we think is an instrumental part of the whole operation, because you obviously don't have to only support the players. For every player, there's a prospecting TO, a prospecting event organizer, somebody that can be a good mentor, a great advocate for the game, that can't wait to have people playing at their place, at their shop, at their club. So the Chain initiative is likely to offer also a TO mentorship and support program. We do not have the details on how this is gonna be. Possibly it's gonna be an endless, an endless sequence of phone calls with either me or other TOs all over the world, where we try to school the people on how to run events. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I will tell you, I know you probably have also gotten the occasional message, panicked, going like, all right, so I started running this event and I realized I had no idea what I was doing. Please help me.
Yeah.
Some version of that.
These on the software. Yeah. Like, how do I get the lists? How do I enroll people on TTT? Thanks, Dennis. Your website is amazing. How do I report my event for such and such purpose?
Yep.
That's the type of support we would like to offer. Because, again, we are going back to the tables, and this is the moment to leverage on the momentum that has been built over the past 2 years.
All right. So now what I want to do is I'm going to ask some questions that I know the answers to, but I want to give because these are probably some of the basic things that people are going to be asking. So, so one of the things we had on that main slide was, you had integrated players, TO portal, a unique player ID, and performance meta tracking tools. So is my SWChain the same as my GSID? So if you guys don't know what a GSID is, that's your unique identifier for Gold Squadron when it comes to Gold Squadron events. Are these things the same?
Kind of. We defined the personal chain code that every player will have that every player might decide to have if they decide to opt in the program, as a powered up version of the GSID. Because the GSID, as structured, is actually tied to the name of the account on Tabletop TO, right? Now, we discussed this. The GSID is a genius idea because it helps you to arrange your side of event organization, right?
Yes.
I
will tell you with the right now I have about 350 of 600 packages packed. This would have been impossible without the GSID. Impossible.
Yeah. That's a tool that you use for the player's convenience and for your convenience. So we said, how do we re-equalize and take it to the next level? We said we have a plethora of tools such as squad builders and all these useful websites with stats that people love. They want to crunch numbers, but they are not perfectly tied together. Like, they talk to each other using JSON files that are interoperable files that are sent from website to website, such like you get a squad on Launch Bay Next, it can be transferred to TTT, and then it goes to YASB and yada yada, you know the drill. We said, how can we build on that to have players consistently record all the data they generate and actually bind it to their account? Like, the conclusion we arrived to, building on what Tommaso pitched to me years ago, is to have a unique player identifier. This unique player identifier would actually not only appear in one of the tools, but appear in all of the tools. These thanks to the support, obviously, of the people who works behind said tools. Likely, you after the project will be publicly released and on air, you will find in your go-to squad builder an additional field in the profile where you can punch in your code. And thanks to some technology magic that I know nothing about.
Woo! You're right.
Magic! So all this data will be connected. So in my vision, because I'm the madman with a vision, but there's people actually working on this right now, one day we'll be able to see who played what and how they placed, and this will generate a series of data where we can have much more granularity. How do you say, when we're reading that, not only who has won with what, but how that specific archetype has performed more linked to the exact person. This is quite hard to explain. In my head was much, much easier.
Oh, no, I mean, you got it. I mean, it's the idea of being able to take data across time, because when you're linking it to not only, because like for instance, Pink Brain Matter, absolutely amazing tool that allows you to generate reports on just kind of generic data that have happened in these tournaments that have been generated. One of the things that we can start to create is this, it kind of also builds off of, if anybody is familiar with the Flight Club series that we did, right? You have the ability to essentially, I'm going to use the word rank players, but really more organized players by different levels. Hey, how is your personal, if your goal is, I want to be the best X-Wing player, like if you want to play that game, you can basically have all these mini games built into it. You can kind of see how that goes. It gives us, when I see this kind of, I'm a big baseball fan. I love baseball stats. And in baseball, they make stats about everything and about anything. And when you can connect it to an individual player, you have all these awesome storylines when when we get back to like Worlds, whenever that would be, you could say, hey, look, this player not only did great in the World Championship, but look at their journey through this. You get a lot of a lot more connection to events that have happened in the past, not just single moments where sometimes that person's journey can get lost. And I'm a sucker for being able to have narratives with the data. Like I think that's really important.
I think GSP dubbed it as weird data, right?
Yes, correct.
So down to the real talk, the GSID is fantastic, but as we discussed, I think was it last week that we came down to the actual how things work.
Yeah.
The GSID led to a problem. All these tools read your name on Tabletop.to to actually build the metagame statistics.
Right.
The problem is that once players started to enroll in the Galactic qualifiers and they punched their GSID into their TTT names, what happened is that Marcel Manzano GS111 and Marcel Manzano without the GSID, they were actually recognized as two different people. So, I mean, this is not a big deal, but it kind of is, because the beauty of numbers of data is that you can read a history through those numbers. But if you add a branching out and you divide that data flow, then that data is still readable, but not consistent. It's not, air quotes, true data. It's not valid. To tie all of this, chain code.
There it is. Now, Marcel, Ryan, Will, ideas, thoughts, reactions, friends. Questions, even.
It definitely sounds ambitious. to start. It sounds like it's going to be a great tool for everybody to use. Really filling in those gaps where there's just not a resource for them to access.
Right?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Like Will said, yeah, it's very ambitious. It's hard to immediately think of what questions could like that come from this, because we haven't put it like into practice. I feel like there's going to be a lot more that's going to have questions or thoughts or things that can make it improved or better once it's kind of out in the wild a little bit. Have you done any like full tests yet?
No, not yet, because during the pitch meetings, we'd like to talk about the technology readiness level. So the project is currently in development. On a scale from 1 to 9 is actually between 3 and 4. So the first concepts are being put together. But since it builds on already assessed technologies, such as the tools that we were referring to, I would say that some sort of public testing is likely to arrive soon-ish. If we want to discuss an eventual timeline, now, again, I'm not the one dealing with technologies and integration because I'm a technology literate. Like, I can kind of run a website, but that's where my skills stop. I'm very good at hand gestures, as you can see. Like, I can do all of this, but technology, not my jam. In my vision, I would say that some sort of public testing in early 2022, like just the time to actually building the IT infrastructure behind it. That is not an easy task, but Jan and Adam from Back to Dials, please stop sending emails to feedback@backtodials.com because they don't have the domain anymore. I was asked to refer this. Flipster and many others supporting the cause. I would say that, public testing is likely to be happening in early 2022 because these will need not only a massive amount of data collection, so be on the lookout for forms that content creators and players alike will be asked to fill to, feed the database that the chain hub is going to run on. This will also require some testing, feedback, and an iterative cycle of improvement because nothing is going to be perfect. Like nothing is actually perfect,
of course,
at the first outing. So iterative processes.
Now, and I know that like one of the concerns that sometimes pops up is a lot like, well, there you get a range of reactions all the way from this sounds awesome all the way to like, I don't want to be a part of this. Do I have to? Of course you don't have to be a part of it. So like, what is the bare minimum? Obviously, like the resources and all that sounds like that's just going to be open to anybody to use, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then if I wanted to be a part of the chain code, what is the bare minimum information I got to give you?
So we are aiming at just asking you maybe nickname and an email. Now, this exposes the whole operation at risk of maybe people having multiple accounts to multiple emails, but I mean, we're playing a fair game. So you do you, but we are aiming to ask you for the bare minimum data. Everything is going to be opt-in, opt-out. Like this is what we were actually discussing about 24 hours ago. Like, what are we asking to people to give us in terms of data? And the overall consensus was that obviously in the current world, privacy is important. I'm not trying to sell you a VPN service, so no Surfshark promo tonight. But yeah, we are going to keep an eye on privacy and asking for the bare minimum. Because again, there's different levels of engagement towards the internet and all this stuff.
So, help me dumb it down to just a regular player. So I'm a mildly engaged. When I say regular player, like somebody who's not invested, it's not in the forums, it's not everything. So I'm a mildly engaged, play occasionally, do the local store championships or something like that. Sometimes not. No, don't really travel. So I go to the store, or I sign up for a tournament. They're like, hey, sign up here or put your name here. Like, what's there to gain? Like, what do I get out of it? Like, what benefit is it for me to?
So I would say that the direct gain is to have a collated sorts of information about what is likely your favorite game. Because whether you are mildly invested or a little bit invested or immensely invested, you are likely to consume content. This means also branching out towards new content. You might want to discover like a new blog to read, a new podcast to read. Going back specifically to your organized play experience, you gain by joining the Chain Code program. You gain a consistent a consistent tracking of your performance that you might or might not be interested in, but I think it's very helpful. Like if you are on an X-Wing journey, you ought to look forward, but you also might want to look back to see how you have actually performed in the past. This data is not always easily readable. This supports you in reading such data. Plus, you said, I'm an average Joe playing X-Wing. I dabble at my local store. One day, you might wanna like kind of expand your borders, like expand your catching, and maybe branch out to the closest store. How do you find these other store? You're gonna have a visual map to find either other player groups, other shops, other events, like the closest event near to me. All of these functionalities, we kind of have them because Tabletop.to offers a great page called the next events in game, but by offering a more visual tool to consult this data would be of, in my opinion, of huge profit to every degree of investment player.
And I think one of the other things is, if you guys remember, let's go in the Wayback Machine. And something else I want to hit. And this just because I know this is similar to YASB, Launch Bay Next, Tabletop.to, all of these tools that we've used consistently. This is just another community effort. Right, it's another thing for us to pull together as a community, and that brings me back to another thing. If you guys remember back when FFG, Fantasy Flight Games, first talked about the release of an official app, besides just the list building, one of the things that we talked about was the possibility of centralizing all this information. I think that's what made people the most excited. The way to a way to centralize information, and all the things that you talked about, right? All the resources for TOs and all that, and putting that in a package that not just provides the information but also looks good, right? So you're getting that you're getting that balance for that person who. So for instance, a Board Game Geek, while it has its pluses, like it looks like a 1995 website, right? It's really old style forums. It doesn't look impressive. It has no appeal visually. So you're gonna lose some people that way on a style like that. But the app never did anything like that for us. I think overall it was a letdown. Obviously, it's being discontinued, and it just didn't have the excitement besides all the other issues there.
Issues.
Watch my video on that if you haven't watched it yet. Literally, the rating was a do not use out of 10.
Ouch.
Hey, it's the truth. But I like this idea of centralizing this information because when somebody goes and it's a reality that most of us, from what I've experienced, we would rather Google a question than ask anybody about it. Before we ask another human being, we're going to go type in X-Wing game information or something of that sort. And if we can have a consistent place, of course, if there's buy-in, and that's the big question, right? If there's buy-in, and that it's a popular site, it continues to get used, and I think it's a great tool to build. I mean, obviously, I'm in it for X-Wing, but we also talked about Legion, Armada, other SW based games. I think it could be really awesome. I'm super excited about that. Now, one of our viewers, Canadian Bear, had a question, asked, what if they play Armada and Legion and this all gets integrated together? Do I have to have multiple accounts for each, or can I just be like one person connected to all these games?
So that's the base idea. You have a unique player identifier. So you are not asked to have a identifier for X-Wing, an identifier for Armada, an identifier for Legion, an identifier for, I don't know, any Star Wars Rebellion organized play circuit or Star Wars RPGs. You don't need that. You just need one code that is given to you at registration. That's how the code is issued to you. This is a code that univocally identifies you. I think the correct way to say this is in a non-denominal way. Mm-hmm. Like it's an alphanumerical code.
Yeah.
It's not your nickname. Is
right.
A bunch of numbers and letters that reading it has no meaning, but it's you. And this brings me to the topic of cross-contamination between player pools. Again, we had a few challenging years now, and a lot of people in their free time has dabbled into other Star Wars games. Like a lot of my mates have started playing Legion. A lot of Legion players, when they got back to the tables in summer 2020, they said, ooh, shiny. In addition to tiny soldiers, there's also tiny spaceships. Likey, I'm going to play also that. So we had players playing the Swiss rounds at the Europa Cup the Saturday in X-Wing, making Top Cat, and then saying, you know what, on Sunday, I'm going to play Legion. So I'm totally dropping the Top Cat to go play Legion, because they wanted to experience as much possible from their event. And this led us thinking, let's not paint ourselves in a corner. Because painting yourself in a corner, never good. And let's not limit ourselves to only X-Wing, because the whole Star Wars tabletop community produces a massive amount of content and resources. This to say that when we talk about tools and integration, we are not only talking about the tools that the GSP crowd is possibly most used to. So YASB, LBN, TTT, second edition Squad Designer. But we're also talking about the Star Wars Armada Fleet Designer. Was that the Legion 5th Trooper Squad Builder, the Legion podcasts, all the Armada video feeds. Like, if you make content for one of these games, or for many of these games, because there's good people like Crabbook that kind of branches in all games, yeah, be on the lookout, because you should be there.
Pretty cool.
Again, I'm a simple man with a simple brain. So I'm going to ask you just to see if my understanding of what you're saying is like, if I can dumb it down a bit. All right.
If we are on the same page.
Yeah. So you're using big words, big words over my head. So I am an X-Wing player, and I want to know, hey, I got a tournament coming up. I wonder what's the most popular thing out there. Is that, can I is all the data is there? Would this be a place where that replaces like List Fortress and all that, where I can go in and say, what's been the best ship for the last month? Would it give me that answer? I'll give you a couple scenarios. So these are just like a couple quick hits, just so I can wrap my head around the benefit for the player. Right? I get the benefit for the organizer and for the data crunchers and the bloggers and all that, but just for the player.
So, in that scenario, the aim of the hub is not to replace some already assessed tools, but is to present like an excerpt of said data, like what is the ship that has performed best. We already have a tool for that. That's MetaWing, right? That I assume that you all use. Replicating MetaWing would not be useful to anybody because there's people who has invested work in that tool and it's already assessed. So the aim is to have an excerpt of the results of MetaWing on the website and then link the average Joe player to, hey, go explore MetaWing, where you have like the full array of data. Like this is a snippet, but this is the whole thing.
So it's more like a directory and so it's a directory. Here's the snapshot. Here's the here's the front page. If you want to read the rest of the magazine,
go there.
That's where it's located. Okay. And the other part that I'm curious about is if a player, you were talking about earlier about a player being able to track their own performance, will a player have their own they'll have their own profile, but will you log in and be able to see your activity? Like what will be the user's experience, when you log in? I'm trying to think, like when you're playing video games and you log into your video game account, League of Legends or anything like that, it'll say this is how many this is how long you've played, this is how many games you've played, this is how many games you've won, this is how many games you've lost, this is how many medals you've won, here's how great you are and here's how bad you suck.
Shame. Shame.
And then there's a leaderboard comparing you to other players, or where you stand within your country, where you stand within your area. Yeah. So just curious about that. Just to just dumb it down to like what am I visually gonna see?
Yeah, because this is a discussion that it's not the first time I have when pitching this idea. We usually end up talking about rankings. Rankings, in this understanding, is a very loosely used term because, as you reported, all the experiences that people nowadays have with video games and ranked play are not meant to classify people in a ladder, but more to give drive to people. So the user experience we're aiming at is, yes, you will be able to see how you performed, like how much have you played, where have you played, how you did in such and such event, and maybe some sort of mid-term and long-term objectives that you might want to achieve through your playing. One idea that was tossed at me by a player is you could have some sort of X-Wing Olympics. So if you win a tournament with a faction, you get one of the rings of the Olympics logo. If you manage to win a minor or major tournament with all 7 factions, you get such and such achievement that might be tied maybe with the support of other content or component creators to some sort of prized ship to you. That's the sort of experience.
I think just the having the achievements, you don't have to connect the physical prize, just being able to have that achievement, I think that's awesome. And you can create different versions of these with connected events. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, say a player manages to make I say, top cut in all of the Galactic qualifiers, they get the top achievement because they made the cut every time. I'm just, going freely, but that's the type of engagement that we are thinking about, because I can't say that we are working on, because many of these ideas are still in a seminal stage, still in development, but obviously we are open for feedback.
And that's at feedback at backtodials.com?
Yes, absolutely. Shoot an email, feedback at backtodials.com.
Gotcha.
Wow.
One more question, well, for me.
Yes,
And
Professor.
that's not my question, that's from the chat. It's, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Simatique or something like that. Asking, this is a lot of labor, like it's laborious, time consuming, a lot of people and a lot of moving parts involved. So how will it be? What's the plan to get it, to keep it supported and to make sure that the people that are doing it have a continued incentive to keep doing it, or whatever? How are you going to pay for the servers? How are you going to
So
all
if
that
you're
other good stuff?
maintenance, nowadays the most common model is the Patreon/recurring donation model, subscriptions and all these kind of services. I am more keen on something like starting off maybe with a donation box, because there is a lot of man hours put into the initial development of the project. Myself, that I'm the least operative person on the whole thing. I've been more of a communications guy for the moment, but I've put an awful lot of time into this. For the moment, as 99% of the other X-Wing and the gaming tools is developed on a voluntarily basis. So there's people offering their time and their efforts for the benefit of other people and the game systems themselves. Obviously, wishing to run something like this on a zero budget or paying everything out of pocket is a noble intent, but maybe a little bit unrealistic. So something I've thought about is start easy, maybe with a donation box, like many other initiatives, not necessarily tied, say, to Patreon subscriptions or some other recurring form. We are discussing this there, but that's the most likely outcome, at least in the beginning. So if you have a small donation to make, like you have maybe done in the past for other tools, that's another aggregation tool that you might want to donate to.
That's awesome. All right. I mean, that's straight into the point. Because obviously the biggest once, because I'm assuming, right? And again, I don't have any software development experience, but I'm assuming that the back ends of these tools. Of this tool, of this aggregator of data, ideally is built to sustain itself, right? Like when points change, maybe there's things you have to do, but if the aggregation language is written in a way where even that might not matter, it's right that's going to be the path of least resistance, and then after that it's maintaining the servers and just making sure that cost is paid, and after that, I mean, I think
it's maintain its cost at that point.
Right, exactly. So and shout out to all those involved. Like I think and Filippo and you and I have talked about this. I think this definitely has the potential to be a really awesome tool, and I hope that it comes to fruition. And if it does, it's through it's through good planning, because really the planning phase is the most important, right? We got to get it right now. Have all those.
You need the architect.
That's right.
Oh wait, for those people who may not know, Filippo is an architect.
Yeah. I envy your skyline a lot. No, yeah. he lives around masterpieces of architecture. So yeah, but we mostly need an enterprise architect. And thanks, Jan from Pink Brain Matter, for dealing with me for the last month or two. So to chime in on what you brought up, yes, it requires a lot of planning, but I am for those who dabble in project management, I'm a big fan of the Mac-Limi curve. So basically, the more effort and resources you put upfront in the beginning of a venture, the less expensive the changes that you make or the detours you take in the beginning are. If you plan poorly, those detours in the long run, they're going to be much more expensive in terms of resources. Say a rework. If we decide to use one language instead of another programming language now, maybe we wasted, say, 5 man-hours of work. If we decide to change this in 6 months, then we have wasted 1 million work hours. So that's why the initial planning phase, I can't say, hey, on day X, it's going to be out. Might take 1 day more, might take 7 days more, but maybe 1 month more. But a little bit more planning and testing in the beginning goes a long way on the long run.
Cool. Well, I know, if you want some more ideas, I know we can throw them at you. I'm excited to see where this ends up going. Ryan, Marcel, Will, have anything else you want to bring up in relation to this? I have one other thing I wanted to say, but that's more of a closing statement.
Just want to maybe recap. Let me try to phrase this right, because you're going to have a login for a chain, right? Does that, will you have to link those other accounts together where it's getting the information from, or will it create like a profile automatically for you?
So it does create, in my understanding, and what we're actually working on exactly in these days is defining how the user profile works. Because obviously, if, say, you use the same email for all the tools, it's kind of easier. But what I also discussed progressively with all the guys that created said tools is, hey, are you willing to have an additional field in your user profile? Mm-hmm. So the APIs,
they can talk to each other. Yeah,
because they usually talk through JSON files, interoperable files, and or via the email account. But having this unique identifier should make things much easier. So once you have your profile, you should be all set. The effort that we expect you to have is to take the code issued by the Chain Hub and punch it in the other accounts. Should take maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. And for anybody who's never done that, if you've played in a GSP event, you've done something like this before. That's the same idea as when you go to YASB, you take a link and you put it into tabletop.to and it spits out the list for you. It's that same idea. That same idea. It's taking one piece of information and connecting them together. That's awesome. And then Ryan, did you have anything?
I would say, I guess whenever you have that planned test, I mean, it seems like with your timeline, it could line up very well to when after we get the final full rule set from AMG and potentially have things aligned to start getting things going. So hopefully there'll be some excited volunteers, put it that way, to help you iron as many things out as possible, because you can do as much testing internally as possible, but once it's out in the open, that's where everything's found.
Yeah, the field tests are more important than closed sandbox tests. So I agree on that. And again, even if it's not going to be perfect, maybe in the beginning, every test is a learning experience. So let's see how that rolls.
Awesome. And one of my favorite things about this project, and why I'm backing it is there's I'm gonna get a little philosophical on you guys just for a minute. You can't stop me. Here I go. I think unity is such an important idea in this game and in this community. And when I look at this tool, and when Filippo was telling me about it, it looks like a tool for unity, to be able to bring people together, and that makes me excited. Just being able to bring people together to talk about a common interest, and that is X-Wing, the miniatures game, and that makes me excited. So thank you for your presentation today, but also thank you for this interview is genuine, but at the same time I knew all these answers. But thank you for also letting us be a part of it, because I think it's really cool to be a part of this initiative.
Thank you for having me, and to offer a visual showcase for the Chain Hub project. I'm really excited because, again, I'm one of the guys with the vision. I know nothing about how these things are actually done in tech, but just by seeing the conversation between the people behind it is it's really exciting. I can't wait for it to be out, and I hope it will serve the play groups and the play community as good as I think, because if it works, it's going to be good. And it's going to work. I know it's going to work.
That's right. Positive thinking. The power of positive thinking. All right, man. Well, I know that it is, but if you guys don't know, he lives in Italy. It is some ridiculous time over there.
4:38.
Yeah, so you should probably get some sleep, I would think. And we're gonna do some lists of the week and some questions of the week here. Is there anything else you want to say? Shout outs you want to do before we let you go?
I had a few shout outs lined up that I can't really remember. Oh yes, I have one. Shout out for Liam, King of the Pirates, for XTC maybe 2022. Hey Liam, are you ready to maybe contact a team of pirates? Because everybody knows that you got excluded from a team that I'm not gonna name. And yes, the other shout out is obviously for all the people behind SWChain, because I've been spending the last maybe month or so pitching this to people to get feedback, and it's easy to say, hey, your help was super valuable, but it actually was, because every idea has to be refined, and your contribution has been instrumental in defining this vision. And if we manage to develop this vision properly and to be of use for you, well, it's also your merit. This is a communal effort. This is the very definition of a communal effort for the community. Last thing I'm going to say, because I love my tangents, I referred to XTC 2022. We are still in the early planning stages. And yes, you still have to receive your prizes, but I swear it's been a challenge. I swear it's been a challenge because the supply chain at this moment is... Hey,
shipping. Wait. Shipping is hard? Shipping and production of prizes is difficult?
No, it's a nightmare. You know that we're kind of also mass producing the TIE... what's his name? The TIE Whisper tokens. So the supplier still has to receive the cardboard to print the final test and then proceed to the final print. It's been a nightmare. They do not receive cardboard. Apparently, half of Europe is out of cardboard. And I'm like, is that a thing that can happen?
Well, just order Amazon. Amazon comes in 12 hours and just get your scissors and your Elmer's white glue and...
I have my rounded up.
It works for AMG, right? With yeah. So.
Don't get me started on that, please. Because the other day when I heard about token and objective and obstacles printout for tournament play, I was like, big yikes. No. Somebody hit up Andrew and the other component producers because we need like
we got some cool stuff cooking here at GSP for that stuff.
All
So
you need is a little curl paw creator. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You need a little curl paw in your life.
Yeah. So I was saying, sorry, tangent. The last thing is, if you are watching this videocast, if you have listened to the other podcasts about the Chain Initiative and you are aware of the XTC circuit, well, but your country is not maybe represented at the tournament, well, be sure to get in touch. Get in touch with me, get in touch with Bartosz, get in touch with the organization. Shoot an email to Gold Squadron, who's then going to relay it to us, because we want more captains, we want more representation, we want more teams at XTC 2022. So, Gold Squadron, thanks for having me. That was my final remark.
all right. Thank you. Have a good night, man. You can just
Thank you.
Just click the disconnect button. That's all you got to do.
Yep. Ciao, ciao. Have fun.
See ya.
Hasta luego.
All right, now let's say what we really. I'm just kidding. All right. All right, man. I think that it could be really cool. Obviously, like with everything, that there are potential pitfalls. But if it happens, I think it's cool. I think it could be really cool.
We got to get his elevator pitch down to like more like.
Oh yeah, it was way too long for sure.
Yeah. So we got to take it from like the Sears Tower to more like the like a 5-story
standard building.
little hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, your business happens at like at the local hotel. Yeah,
That's right. 1 minute to 45 seconds. Boom, 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 boom. All right. I got a list of the week for us, friends. All right. I got a list one for us to break down together as a family, because that's how we do lists. All right. Give me a second to adjust this so that you guys can actually see it in its entirety. One moment, please, because my monitor decided to freak out.
Can you post it in our notes too, please?
Oh, I will. All right, so we got a rebel list, and this rebel list cometh. Oh, there were some picked already. Okay,
I got a couple.
you got a couple. All right, well we're gonna
super easy. I put 2 of them because they were super easy changes.
we're gonna start with this one. This one comes from our friend GN Bob. This is GN Bob. GN Bob sent us Hera Syndulla with Elusive, Wedge, Naked, Garvin, Naked, and Heftober with Intimidation, Tactical Officer, and of course that pivot wing, 200 points. What you think? Initial reactions.
I mean, this starts off at the base of was it Andrew Oler who was running?
Yeah, this definitely had that feel.
Right. So it starts off with a hint of Heratani, but then puts in a power piece. Oh man, now I'm blanking. Was it Ali who was running Wedge in his Heratani? I forget now. But I think those pieces are very good. Garvin, Wedge, Hera, either in the A-Wing or B-Wing, very powerful. They come in as the X-Wings with their heavy hitting. The questions I have is about Heftober. Now, he does get an action if someone runs into him, he gets to perform an action, which is very interesting with Tactical Officer because you can then coordinate after your Initiative 2 moving. So that's very interesting to me. But I guess my first question is Hera A-Wing or Hera B-Wing for this list?
This is a Hera A-Wing. Great job calling me out on that. Yes, A-Wing. It didn't mention.
No. I'm asking like you guys.
Oh, should it
be an A-Wing or should it be
this one I'm going
B-Wing?
B-Wing 100% because of the speed of the list. You want to the A-Wing will just
Outpace
this
them?
entire list. Yeah.
I don't think
And
that's
plus-
too difficult though, because that Hera A-wing in most cases, at least in the movement aspect, can orbit around a lot better as an A-wing versus the B-wing that's more determined in its trajectory.
Yeah, but in this particular case, the B wing also. I mean, this is basically a punch you in the face, and you just get more mileage out of you get more mileage out of the 3-die attack gun. I think.
+1 red
and
die
those-
on just for zero additional points.
Now, however, it takes it's easier to choose to shoot at Hera on the A wing. I mean, on the B wing than it is to shoot at a 3 agility tokened up A wing, and you usually want the opponent to want. I'm trying to figure out like why would the opponent ever target Garvin Drays in this list? Garvin, I think, kind of gets lost.
I would say if you switching to the B-wing, which I think is
Mhm.
it's a very viable, and actually that's one of the first things I did is swap to the B-wing version. If you want to make people shoot Garvin, give them selfless. If things are already going kind of slow and sticking nearby, and you want Garvin to be shot at because he's got the infinite focus going, have him be something that's going to pull damage from other stuff.
Yep.
Selfless.
I agree. That's exactly what I swapped that elusive for. Was also selfless. But I want to touch on another thing as well. You might want the A-wing because of the easy access to focus and evade. But let's not forget the closed foils of the B-wing's configuration does have a barrel roll linked to red evade. So you can do those Haftauber coordinates after Hera has, well, probably won't be after Hera focuses, but with a coordinator out there, you could still get focus evade, which could protect Wedge and Garvin as well.
I like that. I like that. Now, one of the things that we know that intimidation's being banned, right? We know that. I know that we don't have any idea of the points changes that are going to be happening, but if we had to lose intimidation, because we have to, it's going to be on the ban list. What would we do with those 3 points? What would you do?
Jyn Erso.
That's what my brain went to first immediately. You got that second.
Just swap it out because you, if somebody bumps into you, by that point, because it's happening after initiative, so you probably know who's being targeted, or just throw an extra evade over to Hera so it becomes to everyone. So, actually, no, Hera wouldn't be able to get it in this case because she can only take the focus action once. She wouldn't be able to take a focus action again to turn it into an evade.
Is there any merit to tactical scrambler on Haftauber, or is that putting too many eggs in the blocking basket?
Well, the other
might
thing
be.
is, that's 1 point cheaper than Jyn Erso, so you can go with tactical officer and Zeb. Again, Zeb allows you to shoot before the changes occur. Zeb allows you to shoot whoever bumped you.
So we
But
know Jyn
after the
Erso is
change-
good. Like, I'm not fully against putting Jyn Erso in
Oh,
here,
no,
but
I mean, Jyn and Hera, so good.
Is Jyn Erso much better when Kyle is in the list because you have that passing instead of the action-oriented stuff, right? Granted, Hera does pass to other people, but it's off of one action. Have we seen a successful Rebel list that has Jyn Erso without Kyle?
That's a great point.
Not really. No.
That's a great point. Now, we don't know if it's Kyle obviously gives you that flexibility, right? And I think that's what you're pointing to there, Ryan, right? You have that additional instance of being able to trigger Jyn Erso.
Yeah, and it's the same points. I mean, it's 50 points for a Kyle with Jyn. So I don't see I don't see the benefit of half. I understand the coordinate, but Kyle's ability is essentially a coordinate.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, at this point we're going back to like the
the original version of,
to the
of the
original,
list.
but I mean, you can't argue with success. I mean, I think that's
Well, so
Right.
if they wanted to keep a U-wing in there at least, right? Because maybe they're thinking, because I think one of the things that stood out to me going forward, at least within the objective scenario game we saw from AMG, is that medium and large bases will have a higher count or a contest objectives better than smaller ships will. The number or percentage may change from scenario to scenario, but it seems like they're putting a little more emphasis on the medium and large base ships affecting objectives and contesting them better. So if they're like, okay, I know this is happening, I want a U-wing because I want to try this for that purpose, then, you know, what do we do for them?
I mean, I still like the Jin or so over Intimidation. I think it gives you that flexibility to where you're not having to just throw Hef into situations just to trigger some ability of his. Because when Hef's coordinating Hera, he doesn't really lose that token. He always has access to it as long as she's nearby. So I think that I was looking for other named pilots, but I couldn't really find anything other than K2SO.
no. You
thrown
can
in
also
there?
fit. No, you can fit. If you get rid of Garvin, again, if what you're looking to do is get focus tokens out there, is benthic 2 tubes with perceptive co-pilot.
So we're going double U-wings, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Some people have played it against a person named Dion like a week ago. But yeah, I mean, it's not K2, so yeah, it was benthic with perceptive, and then just an heft. Well, yeah, they had Heftover, but basically get rid of the stuff on Heftover. It just becomes, but that just gives basically. Oh, that's why it was over 200 points.
I mean, would the benthic I'm looking at is 54 points, perceptive co-pilot on him.
Yeah.
Could that just replace Wedge in this list?
Oh, you mean do Hera,
Garvin, Hef.
benthic, and Hef? Yeah, that's actually.
Because it would give you a little less attack power, and
then you still get
lot
to keep
less
the
initiative.
intimidation and all the other toys on Hef. Actually, the whole
I
time I was,
put Jin on Hef still,
Okay.
but yeah.
yeah, the whole time we were looking at this, what I was trying to figure out is how to fit in Leia, because that's the thing with
I know.
with the
Leia's
U-wings.
so good with the U-wings.
You need Leia with U-wings.
I mean, is that worth
If you
taking the perceptive off?
well, if you get rid of Jin,
Yeah, you can fit.
you
Leia.
got it.
you got Garvin, benthic with perceptive, Hef with Leia, and you got.
We can go back to the original list: Wedge, Garvin, Hera B, Hef, and you have 8 points left. You can fit Leia in that.
Ah.
You lose out on tactical officer though.
Yeah,
But
you can give it up.
once again, that's going to lie. I think that's the problem with Heftober is that when you load up his ability with intimidation, Zeb, and all these other things, if you're not getting those blocks, or if the opponent might read your card and see that, well, maybe we avoid that ship.
Well, it's easy in that case.
could-
In that case, just cheat and grab the two,
Cheat.
and then just flip them around and be like, "No, I want that to be Hef now."
Right.
Trust me, it works.
That happened in our game,
that's-
by the way.
Oh, you're just like, that was Hef, actually. Oh, jeez. No, I was just, it was more of not for maybe this list, but like a general question of how much do you guys put into comboing your pilot ability or like forcing your pilot ability to work?
That's my problem with Heftober is when I want him in a list, which I have to say never like Hef, gotta have it. Right?
Okay. Fair.
It's you want it to be you don't want it to be a linchpin in the list. The reason why the Heratani list works so well is that all 4 of the pilots did similar things, and it didn't limit to who it went to. Right? Hera could pass to anybody. Garvin could pass to anybody. Two Tubes can pass to anybody. Kyle can pass to anybody. Like, that's what and the question I have, and this is my suggestion for anybody who posts lists and lists of the week, let us know what is it, and I think this is the reason we're having trouble, guys, is we don't have a direction here, right? It's just a link. Boom. Take a look. And I think it sounds like our overall opinion is that it feels like the list isn't optimized, but we're not entirely sure which parts are important to you. Because what we did is we had a version where we took out Wedge and put it in another U-Wing in order to make Hef better and kind of have better support. We took out, we completely changed. We had the potential of taking out Hef completely and replacing it with a Hawk, right? Which brings it more towards the Heratani version. But I think what we can probably do with this list is maybe take a second and talk about Heftober, right? Let's use it as an opportunity here and saying, is it worth building a list around Heftober as a piece, or is it just when it happens, cool, thanks?
I think it's definitely a when it happens, cool, thanks. It's just a matter of if you think it's only 1 point more than a generic. So you're not investing more, but it doesn't mean you have to reach for him. If you're 1 point, if you're at 201, I don't think you lose much by dropping down to a generic, right?
You kind of do. I mean, bumping happens a lot, and I think one of the things that Hef does that a generic doesn't do is the same thing that a ship with intimidation does, which it adds that psychological factor of saying like, okay, or a bomb with trajectory simulator. It's I will not enter this zone. It's area denial at that point, because when you have Hef, you're like, oh, I don't want to go there because I know that he's probably going to jam the ship in there, so I will stay clear of this section. So it serves that additional purpose of, I know what you want to do, so I'm going to not, I'm going to rearrange the way that I play because I think this area is a do not enter zone. Again, you're talking like trajectory simulator or a ship with intimidation. You're kind of selling what you want to do. But that
and I
doesn't
guess
mean you have
how
to do
dangerous is it really, though?
I think it's pretty dangerous because you're preventing them, at least at the moment before rules changes, you're preventing them from taking an action, and you're taking their action and taking it yourself. So if you load it up with something like Zeb, it's like, okay, now you bump. I move forward and I focus. Now you bump into me. I can either target lock you to have a double-minded shot, or I can give a target lock over to Wedge. Coordinate. So there's things that you can do. Now, going back to Dion's question though about Heftober and how much do you want to center around that, because it's essentially a quarter of your list. It's not a cheap ship, it's 50 plus points. It has to be able to contribute without its little gimmick, or it has to be able to contribute without its main effect adding. So in order for that to be the case, you have to have something on there that provides additional support. And that's why I think Leia, anytime you're flying a U-Wing or a stop and you don't have Leia, I think you already lost, because U-Wings will start bumping, and then when you're turning and you can only turn once, and then you're stuck, and it'll take you 2 turns to basically flip around again. But Leia is a universal card on a U-Wing, allows you to stop, with your wings open and still take a shot in an action, or it allows you to stop, rotate, and then stop, rotate again 2 turns consecutively while your other ships kind of do their K turns and stuff like that. So at that point, Hef becomes a a ship that you want to go and kill because Leia is such a threat. Again, you're opening up those K-turns for those X-wings. You're coming in for the joust, then you're going to stop. Those X-wings are going to K-turn and still action, and it's just too much sustained power. So then at this point, Hef becomes the primary target. Leia's, I mean, I'm not sure why we don't see Leia as often as we do, but she is ridiculously good.
She went up in points. She's terrible.
Yeah, from 2 to 7. Jeez, she's unplayable now. More so.
All right, cool.
She was 2 at some point.
She was 2. Well, I mean, that's when she gained popularity.
Yeah.
She was originally 8, but we learned.
Yeah,
That's what it takes sometimes.
life experience is what we call that. All right, let's hit another one. We have, I think Marcel dropped a couple of quick changes here. You got one from Mike Corney. Let's go ahead and take a peek at that one.
That was a super easy change.
So
you guys might see it as well. Go ahead.
So started with, is this the finished one or the starting one?
That's the one he started with.
So it started with Darth Vader in the TIE Defender with Malice and Jamming Beam, Sunterfell with Predator, and Night Beast with Afterburners.
Yeah. And I think this is like a super simple change. You just take that Afterburners, convert it into an Auto Blaster. Because Malice and Auto Blaster is Malice, Auto Blaster, and white K-turns are just it turns them into the Republic Anakin that everyone hated. And you can do it indefinitely because Malice doesn't burn charges. You can just crit every single turn. It's terrible.
It's great. All right. And then we got one more. This is from our boy Kenneth Lyon, dropping in another Imperial list here. Let's go ahead and see what we got. Going back to here we go. We got Lieutenant Laurier. That is the sidestepping. It's the Star Viper wannabe interceptor. You can barrel roll with the bank, or you must barrel roll with the bank templates, with intimidation and sensitive controls, allowing you to boost or barrel roll during the system phase and losing auto thrusters. You have a Imdar test pilot. That's the generic Initiative 3 TIE Phantom with no upgrades. Duchess in the TIE Striker with Predator and Fifth Brother, and the Grand Inquisitor with extreme maneuvers.
So on this one, he did add context. Long story short of it is he wants to play and make Lieutenant Lower work. So the ship that is the untouchable portion of the list, in his view, is Lieutenant Lower. Now, I didn't know we were doing like a group thing. So I completely...
Did you destroy this list?
No, not really. I only changed one...
100.
I only changed one chassis. Changed one chassis, but I'm curious to see what you guys think, and then I'll tell you. I'll go last, and I'll say how I swapped it.
I got an easy pairing. This is where my mind would go if I'm trying to get Lure to work. So it's an interceptor, okay, but it's an Initiative 3. So when I think of Initiative 3 support, I'm reaching right for Lieutenant Sai. Because they're both moving at Initiative 3, that means that I can't pronounce the second R in that word. Do you say rear?
Rear. The rear of the lore.
Lower rear. That's going to still allow him to do sensitive controls, boost a barrel, be crazy, and then get supported after he moves by Lieutenant Sai, who's a great coordinator. And then he could even go as far as putting Emperor Palpatine onto him as well and get a Palp shuttle out there to provide even more modifiers for the rear.
So that's replacing Duchess, is what you're doing there.
Yeah, because that's 58 points for
Isn't
just
usually the
Psy.
title on Psy
Yeah,
a
you
good
should
call
put the title.
because you
should
get
put
the
title
double
on
action?
Psy.
Yeah.
Yeah, target lock, focus. I was thought about Kagi, but to pull like locks so people can't lock low rear. But I think the matching initiatives might be very important.
All right. What do you think, Ryan?
I'm trying to get a little more. So if you got that sort of situational, trying to make as much use of Laurier as possible, and being that sort of blocker aspect in mind.
That's what he's going for, right? So he's got intimidation out there. Again, banned, but not yet. Not yet.
Well, I guess the question becomes then.
Hot take. If you can't put intimidation on Laurier, is it worth even taking?
Intimidation?
I'm saying yes. The way I swapped it, I kept Laurier without intimidation. I think intimidation. I don't know why he had intimidation on there because I'm not looking at Laurier.
I don't like intimidation. No.
Yeah, I'm not looking at Laurier as a blocker. I'm looking at him as someone that's going to punch at I3.
I think I'm out as a blocker on him. What did you put on him again, Marcel?
The way I did it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let me. I'll show you.
Not the whole thing. Just what were the upgrades? Like, what do you mean by punch? Like, what did you give him?
Nothing. Just sensitive controls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's a 3-dice gun.
Sure. I think what could be interesting if you were trying to play around with things for low rear to maybe get more out of, discipline lets you barrel roll, and when his barrel rolls are bank curved, that could actually be pretty good on him. If you're already doing sensitive controls and getting around obstacles very easily, he could be a viable candidate for trick shot, right? Especially with those curvy rolls. So if we were considering swapping some things around, we know we're taking off intimidation, so we could, I think for now, just to not do anything crazy, swap in for disciplined. Because almost everyone's a named pilot. The Imdar test pilot's the only one who's not. Kind of inclined. I know extreme maneuvers is really good, but I think on the Grand Inquisitor I want a little spike damage for him, so I think I swapped the easy 5 points to Prockets, so he has something to push an additional spike of damage. I think that's going to be pretty helpful. I'm just trying to think what we could swap the Imdar pilot to someone who might have.
Seventh Sister is 44 points, if I'm not mistaken.
Fifth Brother, I think, as well.
Oh no, Seventh is 43. So yeah, Seventh or Fifth Brother could go in there.
Fifth is currently being used on Duchess. That's
so
one
sixth.
ship that I'm not sure I actually like too much. I know
like
for
it,
a long time a lot of people liked Fifth Brother Duchess, but man, that is the most expensive ship in the list right now, and I can't advocate that, to be honest.
What made her so effective? I played her for almost 6 months straight. This was obviously pre-COVID, and when you had like a proximity mine on her, and you could take a big enough bid where you guaranteeing that you're moving after initiative 5s, you were fearless. You went out there because you have that ability to point you have the ailerons, either yes or no, plus positioning yourself and like, well, I'm not going to shoot this turn, but I'll bomb you next turn, and that Fifth Brother could do some work, but man, in a road world, random order after dials, Duchess scares me, and investing those 12 points also worries me as well. Because couldn't you just
get a better chassis than?
Couldn't you get both of the TIE V1s here? Couldn't you get Seventh Sister and Fifth Brother?
I think what I've just started building here is Grand Inquisitor with Prockets, Fifth Brother with passive sensors homing missiles, Seventh Sister with you do fire control system, or you could, because I in this list, because those ships are so difficult to kill if they want to be defensive, I swapped to trick shot on the rear to use that obstacle pre the system phase reposition to play that sort of game. So after you have that sort of setup, you're left with 3 points to decide what you want to do.
What was the missile on Seven Sister?
None yet.
No, it was
Fifth
fire.
Brother had homing and passive sensors.
Passive, that's what it was.
There's just 3 points left, which there's not a 3-point
Highly-
missile. There, you can
Highly
do
recommend
ion.
that ion missile.
Yeah, ion missile.
Get a 3 dice long range attack.
Ion missile, instinctive aim, maybe.
Oh, that's actually pretty good. Because if you're shooting the ion missile with Seven Sister, you won't be able to use your crack shot like ability by spending 2 force. So
Yeah, it's just that you only have 1
Interesting.
point left, and there's not really anywhere else for it to go. Unless you do instinctive aim on the Grand Inquisitor, but they already have focus-based reposition. So I think the instinctive aim on Seventh Sister makes more sense because you can do repositions linked to focus, instinctive aim for the force, and still have a full focus for the shot.
yeah, and this is actually an interesting setup because you're getting up with like essentially a 4 ace build, but you can keep Lorear pretty protected, hiding in the obstacle field, while your V1s try to get more advantageous position.
And this, I think this does very similar to what I think the point of the list is, right? All the ships are kind of squirrely. They're trying to play the avoidance game until you get a mistake and they can strike and punish you for making that mistake. And I think you need other pieces that can pull heat off of Lorear. I think my issue with Lorear is it is a 3-die gun. It is an interceptor. But if it's only out there to do cool tricks and it doesn't have other things to pull the heat, it could end up being in a weird, like in a bad spot, in a bad situation.
He's a lot of fun though. With sensitive.
I mean, yeah,
It is
fun.
Actually, now that I'm looking at him, if he's under 40 points, you can get. If you want to, I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I'm not actually trying to change the list or whatever. But if you wanted to run him with more like frontline troops, so he can actually go out and be the ace, you can easily fit 4 Reapers or 4 Brutes out there. Or I think Barrage Rocket Bombers are about the same cost as well, to give him like some frontline troops to buy him some time. Could be an interesting.
Oh wow!
I didn't realize he's so cheap.
Yeah. Look at that. There you go.
I mean, you're gonna chase down the rear when there's 4 Reapers flying at you.
I like that. And this is gonna be standard legal. You can't put bombers.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's gonna risk running multiple Reapers in a damage yourself bump world, but if you're bold enough, you can
Be
do it.
bold. I like it.
All right. Well, hit the reset. I'll just do what I did real quick. But I like the one that you guys put together with the TIE Advanced prototypes. I think that's a really good take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So on mine will be fast. So I took obviously the Intimidation off of Laura, and I took the Fifth Brother off of Duchess, and then I took Extreme Maneuvers. Let's start with Extreme Maneuvers off Grand. Then the MDAR test pilot wasn't doing a whole lot for me either. So let's put a better one new. Let's go all the way up to Whisper. And let's throw Fifth Brother on Whisper as well to get the good big gun. You're at 9 points. And then I took the only chassis I changed was I took that TIE Advanced. I took Grand Inquisitor and I swapped them out for another Interceptor. And it was the Volt, the new guy.
Volt
Scars. So basically you get 3 initiative 5 ships. You get Volt, Duchess, and Whisper. And again, Whisper is the one that's punching hard with Fifth Brother. And then Lieutenant Lore. So you get 2 TIE Interceptors, Whisper and Duchess. I think Duchess is still real good with Road because Duchess is a ship that really doesn't care winning or losing the dice roll. You can manipulate you can manipulate where you want to end up based on the result of the die roll, and then on top of that, I think the strikers stand to lose the most in a bump yourself for damage type of scenario. But again, Duchess has the benefit of choosing, and then when all the other ships are initiative 5 as well, it just kind of gives you that thing. So I like this one with 3 initiative 5s and lower.
She is a very interesting. I mean, strikers in general, but Duchess in a if you could bump somebody, if ailerons counts for it, she being able to turn that on and off, I think is really interesting. Might be enough to keep her around. Because you can do it while stressed, even. Well, I guess you can take the focus action while stressed, though. So, never mind.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's just 3 initiative 5s and lower. It's the way that I had it.
All right. Well, there you go. We got a little bit of list of the week there. Lots of different options there, which is always really fun. And I want to end today with advice for a new player. On our Discord, name Talk Polite asked, as a new player, what tournament lessons should I know when going to events? We've had like whole podcasts on this. One thing, you can only give one. What is the one piece of advice you want to give Talk Polite before we head out today?
Okay, I got this is actually, I cannot forget the amount of times where this would have saved me from a miserable tournament. If anything in your game is weird or suspicious, get a judge involved. It's not weird, it's not awkward. If your opponent does something and essentially you don't like their response, right? Whatever that, I'm trying to be generic here, but if you ask your opponent something and you don't like their response, ask a judge. Get a judge involved in any scenario. Man, the amount of tournaments that I went home disappointed because I was like, man, why did I let him do the triple barrel roll or whatever, you know? So that would be mine. Don't be afraid to ask for a judge. You will not offend your opponent. Unless they're doing something wrong, then they should be offended.
Right. I have a GSP After Dark story about people being offended when being called out. It was an interesting thing that happened.
It's happened to all of us, I think.
Ryan?
I'm trying to think because if this is the same Talk Polite that I'm aware of, he's actually a very seasoned Legion player that has been to many competitive Legion events himself. So I guess on the X-Wing end, if things that he hasn't maybe experienced with it, besides echoing the statement on Colin Judge, drawing a blank for now. Move on to Marcel.
Marcel.
Think a little bit further.
Okay, so it's a first time X-Wing tournament, but not a first time tabletop gaming person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my advice changed. Like my advice would have been, first time player is above all else, get to know your opponent and get to know the people you're playing with, because the best part of X-Wing is the community. So, but if he plays other games, that's probably what he's doing already anyway. So, that kind of changes things. So somebody who is already a gamer and a tabletop gamer, does tabletop gaming things, but just new to X-Wing, is I would say actually that
new to tournament X-Wing.
New to tournament X-Wing. I would actually say that as well. I'll keep the same advice. Is because other communities are I don't know other communities, but I know the X-Wing community, so maybe there's other communities where everybody's in their little niche, everybody's in their little pockets, and everybody's like doing their own thing before and after the event. When you go to an X-Wing tournament, big or small, first thing is just get to know the people around you and be social. And even if you're not naturally social, give it a shot and just kind of nudge yourself a little bit and converse. Now, don't over converse during the table, like during like planning phases and stuff like that, because then, like.
You mean I shouldn't tell you my life story in between each dials?
So yeah, buy a beer afterwards and tell your life story. But yeah, I would say just make sure that you make connections with the people and play your game, call the judge, flip the table if you lose, but meet people and talk to people and get to know them. And drink water.
Oh, yes. From myself, I mean, these are probably some obvious things if you've played, Legion before. But making sure that you understand have a base understanding of your triggers in your list, when they're going to happen, and make sure that you read your opponent's list. I know that seems really strange, but I have definitely been to tournaments where people don't look at my list until after the game has started. I have done that. I have especially on the casual games. On the casual games where you're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. You just look at the ships. You maybe make a mental assumption of what's on there, and then you get surprised when you're like, oh, you have this thing on there, because if you're at a physical tournament, the priority is making sure you guys get the game started as soon as possible. Like, that's the priority. But during that setup,
can I expand upon that too?
Yeah, hit it.
Ask your opponent about their list.
Yes.
If you're like, wait, I can attack you with your Zep card? Or how often can I use your Greedo card? Things like that. Don't be afraid, like, not that they have to, but most likely they will, be like, oh, I have this Jyn Erso because it triggers when I throw focuses and things like that. They'll let you know if you're unfamiliar with like maybe some interactions or things.
Cool. And Ryan, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I think actually along the lines, if you're being new to the X-Wing competitive scene, I'd say be very open to analytical conversations, more so after the game. Like, ask your opponent if win or lose, right? It's because you can both learn something either way. If you initiate the question, but it's maybe more so maybe they ask you because, say, like, you won, and maybe the opponent wants to know more of like some of your decision making or your tactics or why your target priority was X or Y. It's basically those type of questions that it can help you learn a little quicker as to people who are competitively minded in X-Wing and why they made certain decisions, why they had certain tactics and strategies, and what they may have to share with you in terms of anything about their process of playing the game and how that may it may not change your mind. You may stick with what you've been doing, but you may learn a counter perspective and maybe be prepared for that potential if you see it more often from other people.
I like it. An accurate template placement if you're playing in person. Oh my goodness. Triggered. Watch my 10 ways to have a bad time playing X-Wing, and you'll see, man, we've seen some bad. Yeah, Marcel said comfortable shoes. Fact. All right, but that's it for today, everybody. We got Christmas in 5 days. All right. So, if you celebrate, Merry Christmas. And if you don't, have a nice week, I guess. And that's okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I got to say before we go. I have 350 packages for Galaxies are done. All right. And by the way, shout out to Mrs. GSB. She's been helping me out this week getting them done. We got a good system going. We knocked out about 150, just her and I, so far, and yeah, it takes time. It sounds exhausting. It is exhausting. Here's the thing, guys. When I was like, I want to do all these prizes, Jonah had given me some ridiculous number. The number of variations possible for prizes for galaxies is ridiculous. It's in the thousands of possible variations. And you end up with a sheet, all right? You end up with a sheet. The only way I can make this possible, there's a grid on it that has all the possible prizes on it, and I just read off the sheet how many it is. But in order to have gotten there, we had to do some software juju, driven by the GSID hype, in order to make that work. But yeah, actually, you know what? I'll pull up Will's sheet. You guys can see kind of what that looks like.
What, I won prizes?
Yeah. Everybody gets participation prizes.
I did play in a tournament.
You did. You commented with me on every one except for that one. I think you commented day 2 with that one, maybe?
Yeah, because I made cut. I think I would still set the day aside to talk about it. So I think I missed one early on. Mm-hmm. One of the early, I think the first European one I missed. But
let's see.
What I get? Show me them prizes.
Show me the prizes.
I don't even know what tournament it was. Was it Lamu? Lamu? No.
I don't know. Well,
No,
actually,
so
you know
did
what?
well in Jeddah, right? So it wouldn't have been that one.
Define well.
Okay.
Because I made a cut in a few of them, but I did.
down.
I won the Lamu one, but I made a cut
I
in a
was gonna say
couple.
he straight won one.
That's what I meant by do well. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Lamu.
Okay.
All right. So actually, I can't show Will specifically because it has his address on it. So this is just, here's the template. All right. So every one of these boxes is a possible thing that somebody could get. And it comes with a number. So you guys can see the amount of variations that are possible. When I did a prize per planet, I'm going to be honest, though. I don't know if I'm going to do that ever again. This is, we're getting to a point where my brain is hurting, getting those things packed.
That's where you need a, we're going back to like the planning and the architect.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't do it. You just need to have the system in place before you offer up the pricing. Like, okay, how is this going to work in 6 months when I actually have to ship it out?
I mean, it's working. It's working. It just takes a long time.
How do you make it less painful? Yeah.
If I had 10 people for 3 days, we could knock it out. Just done. Just over. But I also have trust problems and availability issues. So all that. All right, but that's
I'm
it.
glad you could trust your wife to do it. I mean,
that's right.
That's really letting go of your fears there, Doom.
It's true. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Stay smart, stay safe, and Merry Christmas. Gold Squadron out.